I don't know if I could put specific numbers on it, but I reckon that for every hour that we spend today on identifying potential properties that we might be interested in, we were probably spending 5-6 hours previously. Yeah, 600%.
So, Nic, Matt, if you don't mind introducing yourselves, what it is you do, where you're investing and what strategy it is you're focusing on.
We're Matt and Nic Reeves, husband and wife team, based in Bristol, investing solely in Bristol at the moment, although that may well change at some point in the next 12 months or so. A little bit of a slow start. It's not been as quick as we would have liked, but our main investment strategy has been flips and assisted sales.
And we want to build a legacy for our kids at the end of the day. That is our sole reason for doing it. And we don't want our kids living in some of the places we've been to see. Unfortunately, I feel, as a mum especially, really, really strongly about seeing places that are just not good.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it, to see some of the places that we go and view, and you think that there's 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids living in those conditions. So our kind of mantra is that when we're renovating properties, that the end result has to be good enough for our own kids to live in. If it's not good enough for that, then we don't see why it should be good enough for anybody else's children.
What, in terms of your lead generation, what challenges would you say you guys were facing?
Just the endless scrolling through Rightmove or looking on the individual websites of the estate agents, and you've got no history there, you don't know how long it's been listed.
So there's an awful lot of time wasted in using free resources, I would say.
And if you had a good follow-up system, it was a case of putting it in spreadsheets, and unless you were actually religiously following up, you just need to let things slip, and before you know it, 6 months has gone and you haven't really done anything, you know.
And when would you say you kind of realised that using that Rightmove process, it just wasn't really sustainable?
We just weren't doing enough. We just weren't getting anywhere, and then it's frustrating because you're thinking to yourself, I want to be into property, I want to be invested, I want to start.
And I think we only really realised how valuable Property Filter was as an alternative when we started trialling Property Filter. When you see there's an alternative, suddenly you realise, hang on a minute, we've been wasting hours and hours of what could have been productive time just scrolling and going on visits, looking at properties that really were never ever going to be interested in.
Yeah, it streamlines the whole process, and it's so much more sophisticated, and you go out with so much more information for that viewing.
Yeah, but let's say previously how many hours you were spending on your lead generation, so your right moves and maybe going on viewings, which were, do you reckon you could put a number on that at all? Or
we were probably spending 5-6 hours previously.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's improved our productivity, 600%.
Losing the name, you can just filter down to exactly what you're looking for, but to do 5 rather than 15.
5 quality ones.
5 quality ones, because we already know, we've pre-qualified it before we even walk through the door.
Without bragging or whatever, if you wanted to talk numbers, this one deal, we're going to have to work extremely hard to make anything less than 120, 130,000 on one flip deal.
Is there anything I've not asked you about today that you feel would be useful for our members to know?
I would say for somebody starting out using Property Filter, watch all the videos, watch all the learnings that are on there, absorb everything, make sure you arrange a call and speak to, I'm assuming you still do that for new members, and
join the community.
Community, get involved,
Take advantage of all the resources that are available to you, because it can be quite daunting trying to set up from scratch if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. And I will add to that, it's not just any longer about just Property Filter. The community that's been created is fabulous. And I have to say, a few weeks ago, a chap was asking me about how we find our deals and stuff. And I was telling him about Property Filter, and I showed him my Property Filter, and I sent him a link to get his free trial. And I was so impressed because he said to me, he set it up the night before, and he said, I'm trying to have a play with it, work it out. And his phone rang, and Guillaume phoned him to say, thank you for signing up, if you've got any questions, kind of thing. And do you know what I mean? He doesn't need to do that any longer, but he still does. And I think that is so valuable, that there's so much support and so much just care for the people who are part of that, those members.
Lovely stuff. And when you first joined Property Filter, did you guys have any hesitations at all?
I didn't, but I'll be honest, Matt is a little bit more of a technophobe than I am, whereas I love anything like that, and I love information. So I used it and I was all over it, and I said, this is brilliant, we should be using it. Definitely, because yes, Rightmove's free, but you waste so much time. And added to the fact as well, we both still work full time. So if we're wasting 6 hours on Rightmove, whereas we can spend an hour on Property Filter when we've got the time to do so, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Absolute no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Genuinely, and all right, I know you're interviewing us for this after, and we're big advocates of Property Filter.
Yeah.
As you know, we come and help on your stand. But honestly, just in terms of the time saving, with time equaling money, I think it's almost a no-brainer that if you're serious about investing in property, you should be using Property Filter.
Perfect. Well, appreciate your time today, Nic and Matt.
Oh
You're
no,
welcome.
thank you for asking us.